when Donald Trump suggested bringing the National Guard in, and Mayor Muriel Bowser and your Sergeant at Arms and others declined any federal support? You mean like that? We have the letter from Mayor Muriel Bowser that she sent on January 5th that said the same.
Fucking forgot. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Breaking windows. Wow, they're doing all. Yeah, the Capitol Police shot Ashley Babbitt. Yeah.
The windows in all of the investigation.
Here you go. And who's responsible for it? Donald Trump. You got to make sure you get that line in. If you're going to have, a scripted insurrection, you got to make sure you appropriately blame the person responsible.
I appreciate what you're doing. If you don't mind, I'd like to stay in touch. Thank you.
Virginia Guard has been called in.
Virginia Guard, yeah, great.
Governor Northam. And what he said is, they sent 200
Hey, Dirty.
state police.
We're heading out to Green Springs to the
of the National
detox
Guard.
center.
Wow.
Come on, Booby. You want up here? You want up here?
Obviously, ransacking their offices and all the rest of that. That's nothing. It's the concern we have about personal harm, personal safety is just transcends everything. But the fact
Personal safety transcends everything. And Nancy still doesn't have her mask on. Schumer doesn't want to be near her, as you can see. I think his mask got a little bit tighter. In fact, it's so tight, it's pulling on the upper right earlobe, as you can see.
Hey, Joe.
It's actually the top part of the ear. He's like, all right,
Been a while, bud.
I need to tend
Good to see you,
this
Joe
up.
Miller.
I don't know what's going on. Might be a odor problem or something.
Listening to Watching the Watcher, Robert Govea on Locals.
There it is again. There's the line again. Trump did this.
Fucking Christ.
Just so we're clear. We all agree, right? You all agree with me? Trump did this. Trump did this. Yep, Trump
World
did
full of
this.
idiots here.
Did you get it on camera? Get it. Say it again. All right, hold on.
And why don't you get the president to tell them to leave the Capitol? Your law enforcement responsibility. Public statement, they should all leave.
All right, so they're chewing the scenery. We get some other, right, they flash forward. Now we get Mitch McConnell's back here. He's got his mask on, too.
Happy, just we're waiting for so-and-so. We need them there now. Wherever you got. Yeah, they also have
Green Springs, it's up by Fremont, Ohio. It's where that detox center is. Up by Fremont, Ohio. I got a little Ivar with me. He's sleeping. He's getting big.
Okay, just let me help you think through this. What happened if your building was under attack? Okay, what would you do for that? No, it's not your building, it's our building. This is our government.
I appreciate Joe. No, I understand. Completely
You
understand.
can see, it's just a big drama fest. And here's another phone call.
Do appreciate you.
Mike Pence.
to make about it earlier.
Arizona, hello.
Probably gonna play some poker tonight.
Going to take days? That's a pretty bad report. They were back there that night counting votes. Well, you guys are
Hey, Fallen.
very mad, like waddling around.
It's been dropping off right through the village area here, so we'll see. Not AP.
But it's just
Robert Govea. about between 10 and 11 Eastern. They start one earlier.
Alexandra is kind of fairly process, it looks like, as they're walking around. Look at a different angle, now they're through. They're all just kind of nosing about. Say, Mom, just watching Mom. Simple. You know, Mom.
What they're doing.
It's real, Mom. It's on camera. You look great. You look very heroic. That one clip that they fakely edited from Josh Hawley, and they played that for us anytime over on right. Oh, look at Josh Hawley running around. Oh. And Josh Hawley was running because he was scared. He said it wasn't a big deal, but they're used to running through the congressional capitol. But they didn't show us this one. They didn't show us this one of Nancy Pelosi waltzing out. Her daughter filming her. Oh, God, I can't wait to give this a see. Horrified from this very monstrous attack. And Nancy Pelosi.
It's cool. That link tree as well. You wanna? Well, I'll save you as a contact in my email.
And there was another clip where there was a conversation with Nancy Pelosi where she said, "I've been waiting for this. I knew something like this was going to happen." But it turns out this was all part of a documentary. Reddit got their hands on this some time ago, posted 6 months ago. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi was documented. Directed by a documentary. See exactly what it looks like. Here's the camera. Director Alexandra Pelosi was following her mother in 2004 Congress. CNN broke the footage on the other side. Saw Nancy Pelosi threaten to punch out former Trump as a result of his actions. It's now emerged the documentary was making the launch on HBO. It's called Pelosi in the House. Yes, it's already launched. I don't know. But what a joke it is. All of the horror in the media, they played this clip over and over and over again for us. They played the ones that they wanted to show us. And yet, as Nancy Pelosi literally walked out as her daughter is vlogging her, start a YouTube channel so we can download it. Anyways, this is the Capitol Hill Chief of Police, Stephen's son. And he was on with John Solomon, whose agency now has the very important job of going through all this footage. And his reaction, he's former Capitol Police Chief, he was there on January 6th, he was involved in a lot of the post-investigation, and here's what he said about that footage.
People say, well, why don't the officers around it protect people if they turn off the camera? The answer is they can't, right? They have to follow the orders of the speaker, unlike other police people who might have been able to say, turn off those cameras, there's a safety risk. Tell us what you see in that video footage. What concerns you? What went wrong?
In your footage, what you need to realize is a protective detail specifically for the protected. You're there, you're protecting the protectee. Now, Capitol Police statutorily, you have to do it. So I'm saying the person holding the camera is Police's daughter. They're there in the conversation with
You guys are hilarious. I'll be right back.
whoever else was there with her for the sole purpose of videotaping creates a major distraction for the protective detail. You know, they don't train to protect those additional people. There's a limited number of seats in the armored vehicles that, you know, if you're going to put one of those additional people into the armored personnel carrier or the armored vehicle, you're going to lose one of your security detail, and that's not what's meant to happen. So it creates a distraction. It slows down the process. You can see as she's walking through the hallway, she's more concerned on videotaping. I want to say she, I think it's Alexandra Pelosi.
Yeah, she's not
is more
worried
concerned
about
on videotaping as opposed to rapidly getting out of the Capitol for her and her mother's safety.
Exactly right. Yeah, none of them were scared. None of them were freaked out. None of them thought they were under attack in any way, shape, or form. It's all on footage. Everything that they told us was for effect, to exaggerate the story, because that's what they do. They need to use this as an ordeal to get rid of their political opponents. Here we have an excerpt from Stephen Sun's book called Courage Under Fire, Under Siege and Outnumbered on January 6th. Now, this is an excellent book, and there's a lot in it that I don't agree with, but there's a lot in it that I do agree with. And if you read it, he does call January 6th an insurrection. He says that there were absolutely people in there, in the crowd, who wanted to interfere with the government and stop the counting of the votes and all of those things. And I think that is true. I think that there was a natural, organic component to that did want to stop the count and get in there and protest. And I do think that there was also another contingent that was hell-bent on causing absolute violence and madness to turn this into what it is today. All of that said, Stephen Sun writes the following in his book. He says, now that January 6th is behind us, and he writes this at the end, and he had previously called it an insurrection and all the things, but now that January 6th is behind us, he says, many questions remain. 1. Why didn't a single one of the intelligence agencies accurately report the intelligence that they possessed? Good question. Not a single one. Why didn't the Department of Defense share its concerns over violence? Why didn't they share inquiries so studiously, not focusing on what really went wrong? Well, we know. And finally, what would the death toll have been if I had not pre-positioned Metro PD by the Capitol and been so quick to call in all the other law enforcement support? Maybe they wanted this to be much, much worse, but this dude stopped it from happening. As tragic as the death toll already was, I could still wake up in cold sweats thinking about how much worse it could have been. He says, America needs to know the answers to these questions. What I faced as the chief of police at Capitol Hill, stuck in the middle of a terrible attack that played out in front of the whole world, he says, is only one part of the puzzle. While on the surface, this battle looked like an ugly mob of violent protesters pitted against police officers, January 6th was something much bigger and representative of greater issues in America. It looked like an ugly mob of violent protesters pitted against the police, but it was much bigger. And we all know that. It was, in fact, much bigger. And what they tell us it was is not true at all. And there are thousands of people who are being prosecuted and abused by our government on the back of this, not for justice, but only for the furtherance of their political narratives, and it's disgusting. So shout out to everybody who's working on this, including John Solomon, Stephen Sun, Julie Kelly, all the amazing people bringing the truth to light. Of course, we will continue to cover this. All right, and now we are going to turn our attention over to our next story, which is about old Hunty. 10,000 plus Hunty images show up on the internet, which is just awful. But we're not going to look at them. There's no need to. They are out there and percolating about. But we are going to talk about the consequence, the implications of these documents, and what the future holds for Hunter Biden. We have other stories that say that NARA, the National Archives, you know, the head librarians, are withholding emails.
All right. I see.
And Hunter is going on the offense. He's posing the man who actually turned over his laptop. On-call lawyer as the Department of Justice and the Biden administration media prepare for
What, baby?
Get here. As soon as prosecutors say,
Come up here.
down on the lap to his then lover, Joe Peskin, in 2008. Condom wrapper sitting on the table was from a text message conversation that Hunter had with Hallie, the widow of Beau Biden and the former lover of Hunter. Provided their insight, getting high scores. So it's going to be, I would say, that 98% of the photos on the device, around 10,000, although it could be any genitalia visible on the site. He insisted that the photo project, which will display the images chronologically of photos, He also made clear that it's not a hit job against the Biden family. He said there's a picture of a letter that Hunter's daughter, Finnegan, wrote to, I assume, troops stationed overseas. He says it's an adorable letter. Finnegan's around 9 years old at the time. It definitely paints the Bidens in a good light. He said, well, we're not
Child?
Republican activists, Ziegler. He says none of us are even registered Republicans. In fact, I love and still love Trump precisely because he isn't a standard Republican. So, no, this is not a hit job. We're going to keep all photos that paint the Biden in a good light and keep all the photos that paint Biden's in a bad light. The American people can judge for themselves what they think about the first family. And, you know, the CIA was involved in trying to cover this up. The entire media was involved in trying to cover this up. If they would have come out and just said, you know, look, those are private photos, leave us alone, okay, he's from a different era, he's a drug addict, whatever. You don't need to see it, we acknowledge they're real, but they're inappropriate. Then maybe this wouldn't even be newsworthy. The fact is, they said that we were all nuts, and this was all Russian propaganda. So now, we get to talk about it. Now you can look at it and see for yourself if it is really Russian propaganda, and those CIA officials were true or not, or if they're just giant liars. So that might be a good reason to just go see it. Apparently, these people who run our intelligence agencies are so stupid that they can't figure it out. We were looking at the emails and corroborating with Vice President Biden's trips and the news reports that say Hunter went with him. That matched the emails that showed that Hunter was engaging in conversations that didn't seem appropriate for him in the context of traveling with the VP. So it was all corroborating that the intelligence were the partisan mix. So people can look and decide for themselves. Describing the photos that will be shared typically only become available once the archives are open. Metadata there. You can see where latitude, longitude coordinates attached to it. You're going to see data available at a describing why it's going to take longer for the videos. He said, well, you got to use strange. The White House and Hunter's attorney did not respond to Fox News Digital for a comment. So amazing story there. Now that is going to have implications. More and more people learn about it. Is, you know, not everybody wants to take a look at these images. Some people might have disagreements about the images being shared at all. But the point is, they, in my opinion, opened the door by denying it. They said, no, it's all fake. You guys are crazy. Well, you know, if you deny it, then you get to impeach that denial. You get to respond to that denial and show the truth. Say, no, it isn't Russian disinformation. It's all legitimate. And so now it is absolutely fair game, even more so than it already was. Now, let's not mince words here. If Donald Trump's sons, any one of them, got so much as a speeding ticket, or had a bad outing with a waitress at a restaurant or something, it would be all over the media. But they covered this up because they know how disgusting it is. But then it probably reminds them of themselves. And so they covered up for their team, and the rest of America had to suffer as a result. But the cover-up is not over. They're continuing to do this. We've already seen what the DOJ is doing, what the FBI is doing. Now the National Archives is doing the same thing. America First sent in a Freedom of Information Act request. They said, we wanted emails from Hunter.
I have 50 minutes left. 5-0. So about an hour drive.
Then America First,
About normal. Just like going to Monroe, but heading in a different direction.
from their request for records from when Joe Biden was VP. But according to the National Archives, when they sent in this request, this tranche consists of emails that came from December 2009 to June 2010, all involving Rosemont Seneca, one of Hunter Biden's shell companies. The National Archives initially proposed withholding. They said, well, we'll give you some, but not 142 emails. And we're also going to redact 54 emails in part. Why? Presidential records help. But then, guess what happened? They turned it around this request. They brought it up to this, and the original number went up. Okay, so those 6 emails, I also want those gone as well. These new emails continue to reveal how the Bidens shared influence and access to in the Obama White House with their family and friends. They've got the emails for us. We can see some of them here. In one example, we have an email from Biden's former deputy chief of staff in the Senate, somebody named Dennis Toner.
Yeah.
As reported by The Nation, Toner was the leading promoter of a Delaware board of trade. He sold the company to another company called
I got truly disgusted today, and I'll explain why later.
who had an investment with Shanghai Harvest Fund Management, the H in EHR Partners. So you see all the layers here? This is why this story is going to be hard to follow. Many layers before it ever gets to anybody. The New York Times.
Let's just say I have zero confidence in today's military being able to do its job of defending.
Promotes Board of Trade, sells Board of Trade to Ideanomics. That company is run by Bruno. Bruno also has another investment partnership with Shanghai Harvest, of which partnered with Hunter's company. So we've got, diagram this out, we've got kind of a big spread here. But we can see the connection. It kind of looks like a W. National Archive redacted the email because it would disclose confidential advice between the president and his advisors or between such advisors. So here we go. This one was withheld in full. Dennis Toner, his personal email address, says, "Are you in your office?" Totally redacted. Another one. This one is an email from Eric Sherwood, copying Hunter Biden. This record is a withdrawal sheet. Releasability withheld in full. This is from the National Archives. 2 days before Joe Biden and Jill Biden departed from Egypt, their White House staff brainstormed with Hunter to, quote, talk about Africa. Isn't that weird? So this email was released. This one came in from Alan Hoffman to Hunter Biden, to H. Biden at Rosemont Seneca. Hunter says over to him, "Will you give me a call when you get a minute to talk about Africa?" Hunter needs some talking points. So are you available in 30 minutes? Alan Hoffman responds to Hunter and says, "Always available for you." Can you believe that? Who talks like that? Alan Hoffman? I mean, you talk like that to your wife, right? Or something. Always available for you, Hunty. Whatever you need, Hunty.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Son, your daddy's very powerful. Always available for you. This is out of the Executive Office of the President.
You know what?
Office of the Vice President.
Let them off on it. But you got to also
That's how they
remove all those gun laws that you're trying to enforce on that. I'd be cool with that. Remove all those gun laws. Because he's got enough other shit. I'd be cool with that.
They tell us that Hunter had influence over the VP's official correspondent. Hunter used his access to his father to pressure the Office of the Vice President's staff to write a letter. Larry Rasky, who was mentioned, ran communication for Biden back in his 1988-2008 campaigns for president when he was a plagiarized. Anne Marie Pearson, his firm, was able to influence her brother Fran, who was hired by VP Biden's team. Rick Vitale is a longtime Biden campaign supporter. It's unclear what the letter's purpose was, as the link is broken. All of this, look at all these redactions. Can the VP write a letter to Sam Vitale? Sam is the brother of Rick Vitale, who is one of Larry Rasky's close friends in Boston. The VP knows Rick well. Hunter says, "Can you ask your brother to get JRP to send a note? See below." Hi, Hunter. Hope all is well. Redacted. On that note, is it possible for the VP to call, to send them a note, etc.? Redacted. That would be really redacted. This redacted. Thanks. Be well. And then this site, the Daily Item of Flint articles. We don't know what that text was. So the list goes on and on, right? Hunter has been manipulating his daddy like a puppet, and everybody just bends over backwards for the guy. Like store brand, dollar store, Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He is the lower brand product, and everybody is covering for him. FBI, DOJ, now the National Archives. But Hunter is going on the offense a little bit more these days, and apparently he is even deposing John Paul Mac Isaac, the Delaware computer repair store owner. The deposition is the latest move by Hunty and new members of his team to fight more aggressively against conservatives. Oh, gosh. His previously legal team did not respond to a lot of Republican attacks, but his new lawyer, called Abe Lowell, came in recently and is countersuing a bunch of people, including Mac Isaac. Mac Isaac sued Hunter for defamation. He claimed that Hunter dropped the laptop off in April 2019, got high, never picked it up. Claimed the laptop became his property after 90 days because he signed a form that said you forfeit it. Hunter and his lawyers never confirmed that they left the laptop behind. But now they're expanding their efforts, and Hunter's legal team says that it intends to seek depositions of others in this case, including Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon, and others, which is amazing. I mean, I think this is a strange strategy, but I'm looking forward to it.
He's just trying to extend it.
Out about this.
He's just trying to make it last longer.
It's also very strange. You're going to see more about this.
They're going to do constant delays with this shit.
The FBI, as the Biden White House, as NARA, as everybody continues to cover up for Hunter, you're going to see these stories about.
I mean, just think about the Durham report that just came out.
Like drugs, clearly he does drugs, and that the way that the signing of the form,
2 years in,
got evidence that he's got crack pipes and crack cocaine that would put anybody else in prison on scales with his prostitutes while he's purchasing guns is not appropriate. That means he lied on the form, which is a violation of federal law, right? Maybe, except now gun owners are responsible for not being charged or something. Listen to this. Hunter Biden can soon find himself in a surprising position at the cutting edge of the fight to strengthen the Second Amendment. What? Hunter Biden is now a Second Amendment advocate now? What? The president's son is the target, okay, of a Justice Department investigation scrutinizing the purchase of a gun from 2008.
Rules for thee and not for me.
A time when he said he was
road
regularly
closed?
using crack cocaine.
The fuck is going on here?
Which for many
This guy's doing a U-turn in the middle of traffic.
Crack cocaine. But as a result of Joe Biden's criminal justice reform laws, but his son is not. Federal law bans drug users from owning guns.
Fucking moron.
The constitutionality of the law, like many other provisions restricting gun ownership, is now in question because of a precedent-rocking decision the Supreme Court handed down years ago. Okay, so you see what this is going to look like? They're not going to prosecute Hunter, and they're going to blame it on the Supreme Court. His lawyers have already told the Justice Department officials that if their client is charged with a gun crime, they're going to challenge the law under the Second Amendment, which is a great strategy. So they're going to.
I should have taken the fucking turnpike.
Oh, you want Hunter to be prosecuted? Well, if you did, then it would impinge upon your gun rights. You'd be like, oh, well, no, it's according to a person familiar with private discussions. That could turn a case that is already fraught with political consequences into a high-profile showdown over the right to bear arms. Because they don't want to talk about Hunter. They'd rather make this about a gun case. The dispute would come as the White House fights to tighten the laws. Federal prosecutors are expected to finalize this investigation soon. David Weiss investigating. Attorney General Merrick Garland said that he's capable. This is not a special prosecutor, David Weiss. This is somebody under the purview of the DOJ who reports to Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland reports to Biden. So,
in certain ways, it always has been.
The direct chain of control of the executive branch is investigating the president's son, and they don't say it's they are becoming more and more aggressive because I think they know he's pretty much immune from anything. What's anybody going to do to him? They're going to stonewall this and delay so that statute of limitations expires, so that it becomes moot, irrelevant, or witnesses expire, or evidence expires. And Hunter is so confident that he's protected by NARA, by the DOJ, by the FBI, by everybody in the Biden administration, that he just wants to go on the offense. In fact, now he's going to go after John, Paul, Mac, Isaac, and others.
Look at this fucking
While the
idiots,
cover-up
man.
continues, of course, we will continue to cover this. Thank you for liking this video, wherever it is you're watching. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next Hunter story. And we're moving on, and we've got
People trying to do U-turns on this road with all this traffic here.
segment because these people just haven't released us down to New York court at the state level so they can keep possession of the prosecution. And we now have Trump saying the judge who is residing at the state level is not appropriate, totally conflicted based on prior cases, based on his political donations that he has made to Democratic causes and Trump's opponents, and because of the activity of his family and his daughters, and all sorts of other things that show it's unlikely that this judge can be fair and impartial. Now, to add some complexity to this, we don't even have the formal motion that was submitted because the judge and the courtroom are not releasing it. They're saying you have to go and review this stuff in person if you would like to see it. And so we have some background from the Epoch Times. They say that Trump's lawyers seek a recusal of the judge in the New York case. And this photo was from New York when Donald Trump had to turn himself in for the arraignment at the outset of the case. But they say that Trump issued a statement, which we will read through in full. They're referring to the document that is going to try to replace Judge Juan Merchan. We'll read through the statement, but I was curious as to why we don't have the official filing. And the Epoch Times dug into this. They said that they called the court. I want to read this thing. I mean, if they're saying this judge is biased and not legitimate, can't not be impartial, I would like to see the motion. But Trump has some gag orders. I mean, they're not officially gag orders, but he's got some discovery limitations, and all of this stuff is taking place under the dark of night in seal. Why can't we see it? Epoch Time calls, and they speak to court spokesman named
Is it better now?
Chalfin, working for the court, told the Epoch Times in an email that filings in Manhattan may only be viewed in person and not online. And as this is a pending matter before Judge Merchan, it would be inappropriate to comment further. Nobody can get the document. Now, Epoch Times is attempting to obtain the motion, which the Trump campaign says will outline the judge's conduct in the previous case. Trump spokesman said he pushed the former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg to cooperate against Trump and against the president. Merchan made also political contributions and other donations. And they've also been involved in the Michael Cohen case and others.
Probably the heat. It's supposed to be up to 91 degrees today.
About the removal.
I got the air blasting right on the phone.
But Donald Trump released the statement on his website.
But I wonder, I mean, even the stream that I'm watching is cutting in and out because of I think it's the infrastructure. Something's going on in the area.
Like all Americans, is entitled.
It's been like this for like a week.
Impartial judge and a fair legal process. This motion lays out Judge Merchan's significant conflicts. The judge's daughter stands to significantly financially benefit from a decision her father may make because of her direct efforts with Joe Biden's campaign. And we remember that I think she did some work for Kamala. The motion also chronicles Judge Merchan's conduct in a previous case when he pushed former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg to cooperate against Trump and the corporation and Trump personally. Judge Merchan also apparently made political contributions to Joe Biden and other causes to, quote, stop Republicans. They say this case has no factual or legal merit, this travesty of justice. And so, now, the New York Times has a little bit more for us. They say that lawyers for Trump are trying to remove this man. Trump has denied all of these accusations. They stand to benefit from this. If Trump is prosecuted and Trump is running against Kamala and Joe, then his indictment, his prosecution, his conviction is going to state rules on judicial conduct. A judge should disqualify himself to degree had an interest that would be substantially affected by the proceeding. Daughter's close. Ms. Mercan's work on Democratic campaigns does not give her enough of an interest to qualify, according to experts. Of course not. Yeah, because this isn't a political thing, right? So the fact that the judge's daughter works for the Democrats, or had worked for the Democrats, has nothing to do with this case. I'm wondering if she's working for them now. Maybe we should know that. Is she working with... Because that seems like it would qualify to me. What if this were the other way around? What if some judge in which Joe Trump's lawyers also seized on modest personal documents that he made? Judge Juan Mercan donated $15 to Act Blue in Democrats, earmarked for Joe Biden Jr. The judge is making donos. Doesn't matter that it's $15. That says more than anything. This is just a donate thousands of dollars to really do something. This is just spite. He's reading through some story, and I'm just going to go give $10 so that I can make a mark as a small donor. He also gave $10 to each of the two other Democratic groups, one called Stop Republicans. And what's so funny about this is now his courtroom is in a very, very nice position to, in fact, stop Republicans by throwing a case against the former president, somebody against whom he's already made financial contributions.
Hey, babe.
Judge Mercan.
I'm still about 35 minutes away. They just fucking big-ass detour on Fremont Pike. If I'd have known about it, I would have taken the turnpike.
The lawyers plan to file the motion for recusal later this week, and they're going to talk about redactions before they release it. A spokeswoman for Bragg's office said prosecutors would review the motion and respond in papers. Mercan declined to comment through a spokesman, but they call the attack on Mercan's objectivity vintage Trump. Give me a break. As I said, what happens if this whole thing is reversed? The judge literally donated to stop him. So challenging his objectivity is in evidence. What if this judge made donations to Trump? How about that? What if Judge Juan Mercan made 2 donos over to Trump, over to MAGA? How about that? You think they would say that this means the judge would be impartial? No, not at all. They'd be screaming like they scream. Trump has argued that Bragg brought the case as part of a politically motivated witch hunt. They deny that, even though they ran for office.
A good judge should not donate to any political
We'll see what the ultimate
party.
motion looks like, and we're going to continue to follow to see what the judge does. Will he recuse himself?
Of course he
Probably
won't.
not. He'll say that, no, I can be totally fair and impartial. That was a prior election. And by the way, this case doesn't involve elections. It involves the falsification of business records from a prior election. He hasn't recused himself yet. I doubt he's going to. Probably thrilled he has this case, along with his daughter. Gives him a nice opportunity to do something that they think is saving America as the prosecution of Trump continues. Now, let's turn our attention.
Yeah, I didn't get any warning on Waze at all. Of course, I put it in myself. Nobody had done anything on Waze.
Because James Comer apparently is succeeding in getting the FD-1023 document. And so, let's get these stories queued up. And in the House, JP Morgan strikes back.
Look at this guy.
JP Morgan strikes back, saying that the U.S. government was a lot more involved with Jeffrey Epstein than let on. We're going to take a look at this new filing that came out from the bank, pointing the fingers in a very aggressive motion that does have some nice redactions in there, saying that officials on the Virgin Islands were working with Epstein to facilitate what he was doing. And the bank is saying, look, you're blaming us for being his financial bank, for helping him move millions of dollars around and transact in his schemes. But what were you doing, government? You were more involved than we are. And so the finger pointing starts, and it is very interesting to see the U.S. government on their heels by a major details surrounding Epstein's alleged death. Here's what they write. They got documents, and they say that Epstein's last days included talk of calling...
I closed up the big part of the house, and I turned the AC on. It's supposed to get up to 90 in the 90s today, so...
2 weeks before ending his life, if you believe that for a minute. Epstein sat in the corner of his Manhattan jail cell with his hands over his ears, desperate to muffle the financier, was under psychological observation at the time for a suicide attempt just days earlier.
Never been a suicide in that jail before him. No, I don't have to go to EP tonight. No.
31 hours stint on suicide watch. Epstein insisted he wasn't.
I don't go back till Monday.
The jail psychologist that he had a wonderful life and would be crazy to end it. But later, Epstein was dead, August 10th, 2000.
I told you that last night, but you were out of it.
Here are some documents. You see here it says, Friday, August 9th, inmate departs. Inmate Epstein arrives in the attorney conference. He's visited by attorneys. Inmate Epstein departs the attorney's office and returns. He's provided a social call. Epstein's in good spirits as usual. Yeah. He has a social call. He's in good spirits.
Bitch isn't even doing
6:33 a.m. Somebody's name is activated by the SHU. Staff found Epstein unresponsive in his cell. Staff reported to the bedside of an inmate and attempted to wake him. Control announced medical emergency, CPR initiated. Bright and early. Medical staff on duty. CPR already in progress as staff arrives. Skipper Scott was notified. EMS arrived 6:45, so just over 10 minutes later. Inmate Epstein is intubated, given 3 rounds of epinephrine, IV access started, IO initiated, no pulse found, no shock advised. Inmate prepared on modified operations at 7 a.m. 7:10 EMS departs over to the hospital called Beekman. 7:19 USMS notified. Others notified. More people show up at the institution. ER physician reports Epstein is dead. Assistant. Somebody named C. Edge arrives at the institution.
Well, they knew that call was coming.
Over there.
They knew it was coming.
Then we get notified. Next of kin, brother is notified.
It's fucking 1 o'clock. Why do we have school speed limits at 1 p.m.?
Crisis support team is activated. FBI gets there. They arrive at the special housing unit 135. Tuesday, we've got more regional directors are there. And then the rest of this is about the invest. Help to dispel. July 23, 2019. This is document your observations. Monitoring Epstein every 15 minutes. 1:45, brought down. 1:45 a.m., lying on bed. 2 a.m., sitting on bed. 2:15, redacted. 2:30, inmate sitting on bed, trying to remember what happened after what happened at 2:15, which was redacted. We don't know. 2:45, sitting on bed. 3, sitting on bed. 3:15, Lieutenant so-and-so takes pictures. And then he's just sitting at the bed, which is, I guess, what you do. From 3:30 all the way to 4:15, talks to somebody at the door, 4:30, and then he's no longer on suicide watch, 7 a.m. He's standing at the door, and somebody stopped monitoring him, I guess.
I didn't even know Bao was still broadcasting.
Provided a fresh window into Epstein's behavior. He also sent a letter to Nassar.
He's still doing his Van Build stream?
Of abusing athletes on the soccer team. He finds a buddy who also abuses young girls. He's like, hey, how's your cell? What's going on over there? The night before Epstein's death, he excused himself from a meeting with his lawyers to make a telephone call to his family. According to a memo from a unit manager, Epstein told a jail employee that he was calling his mother, who'd been dead for 15 years at that point. Yeah, and they blame his death on seriously reduced staffing levels, improper or lack of training, and follow-up and oversight. So, new details on that. And we'll continue to see if we learn more about who his clients were and who was responsible for enabling him for all of the many years. But something else is happening now because the bank, JP Morgan Chase, is now being blamed for being the financial institution that helped Epstein do his misdeeds, moving millions of dollars around, providing donos. You know, he was flying people all over the place on private jets. He had tons of money. Nobody really knew where it came from. But the government from the Virgin Islands has sued JP Morgan Chase and said, you were managing his money. You were enabling all of this. But something interesting has happened. JP Morgan is not sitting back and just taking it. No, they're responding. And they submitted this back against the U.S. government. This is JP Morgan Chase's opposition to the government's attempt to strike their defenses. So JP Morgan said, we have defenses. The government says, no, you don't. They're responding, saying, yes, we do. And we're going to take a look at here's their preliminary statement. They say that plaintiff government is suing JP Morgan, the government
That stuff is good stuff, that pink foam, good vapor barrier.
They say
good insulation.
They say Epstein could have lived anywhere in the world, but he chose the Virgin Islands. Discovery obtained in this case reveals why. For 2 decades, Epstein maintained quid pro quo relationships with the U.S. Virgin Islands airports, accompanied by girls and young women. And even this something disgusting. And also, they let him, Epstein's activity, the criminal activity, was the government. The government of the Virgin Islands itself, not us. So the U.S. Virgin Islands government hopes to shroud itself in various exemptions. It is a plaintiff in a civil litigation like any other. You can sue us and we're going to make our claims right back at you. Tellingly, the Virgin Islands motion seeks to strike only those specific defenses that threaten to expose its relationship with Epstein. So JP says we've got affirmative defenses, which is that basically you guys were doing the things that you're claiming we're doing, and they're trying to strike those defenses. They say that's very convenient. The only things that you say we can't defend ourselves on, or when we are implicating you as being more responsible than we are. Chase says the law affords defendants equitable defenses to protect them against precisely this sort of one-sided presentation of the evidence, and so deny their motion. They say that discovery in this case has been ongoing, but has established at least the following details. In 2009, upon his release from prison for procuring a minor, Epstein sought to arrange for his supervision of his parole to be transferred to the Virgin Islands. He registered with the Virgin Islands as an offender and maintained his primary residence there. They put him under Virgin Island law enforcement under their direct jurisdiction and supervision. The decades-long quid pro quo between Epstein and the Virgin Island U.S. government took 3 forms. First, high-ranking U.S. Virgin Islands officials spent years courting and gladly accepting Epstein's influence in the form of gifts, favors, political donations. The U.S. Virgin Islands granted Epstein, secondly, preferential treatment in the form of more than blank millions, or million, in tax incentives, among other benefits. And third, most troublingly, the U.S. Virgin Islands protected Epstein, fostering the perfect conditions for Epstein's criminal conduct to continue undetected. Rather than stop him, they helped him. More details. They say he originally courted these officials with gifts, money and favors, and all of them gladly to the government itself. In February 2017, he wrote to the First Lady, Cecil de Jong, referencing her husband, the governor. He said, the Virgin Island government is desperate for cash. The amount to be collateralized was $50 million. The First Lady replied, said, I'll get a list of the government properties. The Okay, so Epstein is saying, I'll give you a loan of $50 million. Yeah, and Drifter is right about this. This could say billion. This could say billion. That could be a B there. That could be a B, huh? That could be a B. Woo! That's a good call on that one, Drifter. Yeah, you're right. It says, as this continues, so this one was for $50 million. So the amount to be collateralized was $50 million. I'll give you a $50 million loan in exchange for property. Epstein, and the first lady is like, oh, let me see what I've got available for you. Let me check our Zillow account. What are we Manning? He directed a $25,000 check to be cut from his company. Not only did they take the money, but they actively facilitated his apparent preference to donate to a school library for schools. If you prefer to donate to school libraries, I can connect you with the commissioner for education. Helping Epstein's money go to local schools. Perfect. He had also given, apparently, $25,000 to the Home for Girls in St. Croix. Dropped another $25,000 there. Epstein, who was jailed for soliciting girls as young as 14, gave gifts to school pupils and financed events for young children, facilitated by the U.S. Virgin Islands. He also worked with now current U.S. Governor Albert Ryan, facilitating donations to schools and little leagues. $50,000 for that. $30,000 goes to the Virgin Islands Little League. He also transferred payments, among others, to this thing and to this thing. Epstein made these payments to this despite knowing they risked provoking suspicion. In 2012, he wrote to the First Lady about funding a training program. He said, I'd like to support these things. But in the past, it was looked upon with suspicion. She responds, what do you mean, like suspicion locally? You know, my thought was that this would be okay because it's specifically homicide training. To avoid leaving a written record, he responds, he says, face to face. Epstein also gave money directly to politicians. He supported, hey, Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, you know her, who successfully ran to be a delegate to Congress. She's the so-called journalist one. So-called journalist, you know. Epstein personally gave the maximum amount to Plaskett's campaigns over multiple election cycles. He asked that his contributions be kept secret. He directed a friend in Stacey. Wow. Does Stacey Plaskett know about this?
Yeah, I'll be taking the turnpike home.
And she's got singled out here? Wow. Stacey Plaskett. That's this woman right here. American politician, commentator, non-voting delegate from the Virgin Islands. And we've seen her in many hearings. She's very aggressive, and she says things to Matt Taibbi like, oh, you so-called journalists, you know, stuff like that. So apparently a big friend of Epstein. Isn't that fun? Third, Epstein also funneled money via his business entities. Went to U.S. Virgin Island Governor Kenneth Mapp, Celestino White, also wished to see Epstein, asking Epstein from which entity he wanted to donate to. $15,000 donos, $10,000 donos, $25,000 private gift to all of these politicians. Primary bankroller, the person who he would work through, was First Lady de Jong. She drove donations from Epstein to support her husband and his allies. A lot of money. Somebody else got $200,000. She got $200,000 from Epstein. Epstein paid her child's tuition. The children of the sitting governor, de Jong, including when he was the sitting U.S. Virgin Islands governor, he paid for their tuition. And he also offered to fund Governor de Jong's defense in the governor's criminal case. Says, I'll play any role in this you guys like. I can lend John the money, so he immediately has it. I would gladly be on the phone anonymous with the prosecutor offering suggestions. $25 a year for 20 years. Income tax now, so on. He's going to be moving the money around. They say, lest there be no doubt, Epstein's goal was to gain influence. First Lady de Jong explicitly advised Epstein on how to buy control of the political class. She told him, give wide, but give nominal support, then strongly support the winner of the primary. They explored paying monthly retainers to politicians to ensure their loyal and asset. Can we just give him like a monthly $5,000, $10,000 and just buy them? He basically owned the whole island, is what it sounds like. They considered putting Celestino White on some sort of monthly retainer. And they paid returns on this stuff. All this money went back. And then we start to see some major redactions. And the rest of this we'll fast forward through. But absolutely insane. Let's see what they're asking for in conclusion. Yeah. So for the foregoing reasons, they say this court should deny the Virgin Islands motion and strike their affirmative defenses submitted by Felicia Ellsworth, lawyers for J.P. Morgan Chase. And what an absolutely disgusting situation where Epstein was so involved with the government that he was literally talking about paying them monthly retainers to buy off the politicians. Unbelievable. Now, apparently there is also some finger pointing going on inside of J.P. Morgan. So now the executives are blaming each other over keeping Epstein. Depositions are happening, and current officials are blaming one another for allowing convicted trafficker Epstein to remain a client. CEO Jamie Dimon said in a deposition last week that the bank's general counsel, Stephen Cutler, was ultimately responsible for deciding whether to retain Epstein's accounts. They were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But according to other material, Cutler, in his own deposition, said that two executives who led J.P. Morgan's division, Jess Staley and Mary Erdowas, were responsible for removing Epstein. And Erdowas, in her deposition in March, said the bank retained Epstein because Staley vouched for him. All right. So everybody's pointing fingers at each other. Everybody was involved in this. They all know what was going on. The banks did. The executives did. The media did. People like Reid Hoffman did. U.S. Virgin Islands did. Stacey Plaskett did. First Lady of the Virgin Islands did. But they all covered it up. Why? They all allowed it to happen. And Epstein had already pled guilty. And they continued to collaborate with him. And now they all are saying mea culpa. So the finger pointing will continue as all of these monsters try to save their own skin. And of course, the lawsuit will continue forward. I've got to tell you though, I do like the fact that they're not holding back. The bank should be calling out the government, because the government is as complicit as the bank was. And as they continue to fight with each other, we are the beneficiaries. We get to see this nefarious finally exposed on display, and of course, we will continue to cover it. All right, my friends, now, we've got one final segment, and this is going to be short, because I think there's
10 more minutes, guys.
As we started today. Let's see if we have anything else that is new on this before we jump into it. Doesn't look like we have anything exactly new. Yeah, it's just hitting. All right, let's see if there's anything. Let's see if there's anything over from the Oversight Committee. Comer doesn't have anything for us. All right. Well, here is the latest. Here's what we have on this. The FBI apparently is caving over the FD 1023 form to Congress. James Comer is going to be happy about this. Just the news complicates
Unredacted.
the Biden family. They tell us, facing potential contempt of Congress, FBI Director Wray has relented and agreed to bring the subpoenaed document from the Biden crime family investigation over to Capitol Hill on Monday for the Oversight Committee to see it. James Comer announced the following on Friday. The document contains uncorroborated allegations that an informant provided the FBI in June 2020, alleging that Joe Biden, when he was vice president, engaged in a bribery scheme to change U.S. policy in exchange for $5 million. Congress was alerted about the document. We know that Wray was really dragging his feet on this. He said, my sources and methods, I can't give this to you guys. It's going to implicate everything that we do over here. But now it sounds like what's going to be happening is he's going to bring the document over to Congress. In a statement to Just the News, the FBI said it wanted to accommodate Congress while protecting sensitive information. They said Director Wray offered to provide the committee's chairman an opportunity to review the information responsive to the subpoena in a secure manner. And we've demonstrated
after oversight, and that's what you're seeing here. Nobody wants to be held in contempt of Congress, so that's why Wray is making this decision.
Chuck Grass, it was.
we talked about from when they'll post. That's not stopping yet. That's good news. Until that document is in hand, until this is situated and settled, James Comer, because the FBI is absolutely out of control, and they are, my friends. Okay, everybody, that owned by him. Trump filing a motion to recuse in the New York Alvin Bragg prosecution. Thousands of images from Hunter Biden's laptop have been posted online, and NARA continues to protect him. And of course, we had January 6th new footage released from Just the News and our friend John Solomon, showing that Nancy Pelosi's daughter is sending in these great contributions. Jackie Carry-On gifted our member called Carrie into our amazing community. And if you're a new member who's joining us, make sure you grab the Telegram chat, because we're going to go over there for our after party. We also want to say hello to Wolfgang Deo, who says economic terror has occurred. No doubt about that. We had this one come in from Wolfgang. He just says one more super chat. Thank you, Wolfgang. I appreciate that one. Rocky Water sent this one, says, rock on, happy Friday. A tip in advance of anticipation of another great show. I may not be able to catch the whole show. Work gets in the way sometimes.
Change the oil.
Glad you can join us when you join us, Rocky Water. Appreciate you being here. Thank
Wife
you very
needs
much
to
for
change
this
hers,
tip.
though.
Hopefully you're a very beautiful, very amazing
I'm still like 70%.
Friday. Who else is here? We had another one come in from Jackie Carry-On. Says, thank you, Jackie. Jackie gave a gift over to Sir Don Tripp. Was gifted a membership. Welcome, Sir Don Tripp, in the house. We appreciate you being here and sending that super chat in. Zulu's here. Says, we the people would like a Marjorie Taylor Greene gift in order to more effectively express our feelings. Thank you for your consideration. Okay. So we had, I'm going to do that this weekend. So let me just, so we need to get, all gift requests are going to be worked on this weekend. So I thought we had a Byron Donalds. I think we wanted a Byron. I think there was a Tucker request at one point. There's an Arden Miller request. All right, what else do we want for gifts in the chat? Any other suggestions? I'm going to work on it this weekend. And the more members we get, the more gifts we get, I think. And I think we have plenty. So we'll get the MTG gift in the house. Thank you, Zulu. Good suggestion. Makina Realty Maui, which sounds like a great realtor if you need something in Maui, which sounds pretty great now that I'm thinking about it. Says Dr. Govea. I appreciate that too. Yeah, giving me the doctor title. I like it. Love your commentary over J6 tapes and the rest today. Well, thank you, Makina Realty Maui. I appreciate you saying that. Doctor? Is that because of my JD? I'll take it. I do have a Juris Doctorate. From Makina Realty. And Zulu bought some memos for us, invited some new members into the house. Thank you, Wiki. Who's coming in here? Lenny Malley, Helium Hub is in the house. High Plains Drifter, welcome. And Scarlet Court also is coming in. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Susie, for inviting. Members, we're going to do a member-only Saturday show tomorrow and hit some of the Saturday
You
highlights.
have a go ride with Daddy. You see
I see all the way.
You see it's all the way.
Yawned a couple times, whined when Daddy stopped rubbing my belly.
Jeegum's like button. Jeegum's like button is a good one.
Yeah,
I
good.
don't like
Before I
it.
left.
That's a good one.
He's got a little food here that I forgot about.
Leaf blower guy, I'll see I'll look at
Hey,
I didn't bring anything.
What did you do? What did you do?
Jim Jordan. I don't know how many I have. Yeah, I don't know how many like
Go
slots I
see your
have.
friends?
But it might be time to revise them. You know, it might be time to revise.
Visible day today.
Update, you know, refresh the gifts. Spotlight beer gift. Is there a spotlight beer gift?
Have a bee.
No, so on YouTube you can
All right, guys, I'm gonna kill it for now. We'll be back later, maybe poker tonight.
I don't think
Peace.
they have that functionality on locals. So I can